Hey everyone, my name is Ash and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we will be discussing Cuties. This is going to be a brief discussion regarding what Cuties is and a breakdown of the drama that has come out about the French film since the trailer, poster, and the movie itself was released in the US. But before we get started, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. Also, please leave a comment letting me know your thoughts on today's video, as well as other topics you would want to see in the future. Now, let's get started. So my assumption is that if you clicked on this video, you have a pretty decent understanding of the movie and what it's about. But for those who haven't, here's a quick summary. A brief synopsis from Variety states that Cuties follows an 11-year-old Senegalese girl living in Paris who joins a free-spirited dance crew called the Cuties to rebel against what she perceives as her Muslim family's oppressive traditions. In the film, the conflicted protagonist Amy and the Cuties perform dance routines in which they simulate sex, and in the scenes that camera shots focus on areas. So based on that and other articles' descriptions of the film, it's pretty easy to see why people weren't really feeling the film. They even went as far as to say it also portrays preteen characters in other situations. For example, in one scene, Amy takes a picture of her and then posts the photo on social media, although no explicit images are shown. Earlier in the same scene, she makes a on to her adult cousin to avoid getting punished for stealing his phone. With the film depicting this and more, why would Netflix then decide it would make it available on its streaming site? Well, the thing about Cuties is that it came to Netflix with a fair degree of critical acclaim. It won an award at Sundance earlier this year, and 85% of the film critics tracked by reviews aggregator Rotten Tomatoes recommend the film. So the assumption in Netflix eyes is that the film has received a lot of positive reviews, and it would be something that their audience would be interested in. Even after the immediate negativity that the film was hit with due to the poster being released to the American audience and the initial film description Netflix had for it, Netflix probably thought that if people were to just see the film, they would have second thoughts. Unfortunately for Netflix, not only did the backlash get worse after the film was released on their platform, but a lot of their American user base ended up canceling their subscriptions. Since then, there have been many discussions regarding the film, why it wasn't received well, and what could be made of this entire situation. Let me start off by saying that this section is mostly going to be my opinion based on articles I have read and my own experience with foreign films. Let me start by saying that in my personal opinion, I feel like Cuties was destined to fail in the American market, starting with its presentation. I feel like the way you present something can or usually is more important than what you are trying to discuss. Let me explain. There have been many movies and shows in the US that have touched on pretty tough subjects. When watching other discussion videos on Cuties, in the one made by D'Angelo Wallace, he brought up the movie Precious to illustrate this. That movie, as well as others, touch on difficult topics regarding minors, but the way they present it is the thin line between critical acclaim and negative reviews. So, while I can't understand why the director would have made such a movie, as the topic of young girls being sexualized is something that should be discussed, the way she and the rest of the filmmakers went about this missed the mark to me. For one, the way the movie was filmed, showing minors in compromising positions at various camera angles, wasn't going to get the point across. It just simply wasn't. If you wanted to discuss the kids being sexualized, to then sexualize them in a film doesn't help your case, especially since you're literally the minors you want to help. This goes into my next point, which is that they use really young girls for this. Now, I understand in some instances, having actual kids makes the story feel more real. But having legit minors doing suggestive dances on screen when you could have gotten someone older doesn't seem like it was well thought out. I think American audiences, as well as other countries, have a general understanding that the characters that play kids in movies aren't actually kids. Going back to Precious, while the main character Precious was supposed to be 16, Gabourey Sidibe was around 26 years old at the time of the movie's release. Another example, the HBO show Euphoria. The 17-year-old main character, Rue, is played by 24-year-old Zendaya. And the youngest person who we see regularly on the show is Storm Reid, who is still 17 years old at the time of filming this. And I understand that finding someone who is of age to play an 11-year-old could be a pretty tricky task, but I don't feel like much effort was made to do that. The girl who plays Amy, as far as I know, is 14, so it looks like they did try to age up, but I feel like they could have found someone a little older, but who knows. Lastly, and I'm not sure whose problem this is, but personally speaking, I feel like this movie, much like other foreign films I have seen and heard about, wouldn't have done well due to the fact that the explicit nature of it is something that American audiences aren't really accustomed to. Again, my own opinion, but when shows or movies make it to the US, they usually get watered down. For example, some shows usually get dubbed, and certain names, places, and topics get added or dropped. Some episodes don't even make it to the American audience. Some movies aren't even advertised here due to the content being too graphic or raunchy. So I say that all to say that I feel like the poster and initial Netflix description aside, people would have probably still had a problem with this movie with how it presented the topic. The general public, in my opinion, isn't used to this content being presented this way, and Cuties either would have been not promoted had it been shown in movie theaters, for example, or would have caught major flack when it was released on Netflix, as it did. This is why presentation is super important. You need to know your audience, both what they like and what they don't. Even if you have good ideas with good intentions, all that can end up being flooded out due to bad presentation. Speaking of intentions, while I do want to believe that the director and everyone who worked on this movie had good intentions aren't enough, especially when making a movie about this topic. While they may have not set out to do the same thing that they were trying to bring awareness to, the actions they chose are what ended up being their downfall. Like for example, say I'm sitting and scrolling on my phone and I put my foot out to stretch my leg. You just happened to pass by when I did it, and you fell. While my good intention of not getting a blood clot was the reason why I put my leg out, now you have a broken arm after bracing for impact. You still fell. Cuties had intentions of bringing awareness to this topic, but ended up sexualizing minors. You gave the people who liked this content easy access by making it, at the director, and put it out onto a heavily streamed website, Netflix. Y'all tricked the kids. Now, stepping away from the movie itself, from the business side, Netflix should have cut the movie when they had the chance. Yes, the skeptics and many others still gave the movie a chance, but then promptly canceled their subscriptions at an alarming rate right after. Personally speaking, I don't know whether dropping the movie before the release of it or the amount of people who canceled would have been more cost effective, but their brand name has definitely been tarnished. Netflix losing a lot of American subscribers probably might not hurt them in the long run because they've been branching out to foreign markets, so there's that. Also, we have seen countless times before that cancel culture never really has followed through, hence why people still watch the film even though they deemed it bad. Plus, when their favorite show comes back, they'll probably resubscribe, so what really did come out of all of this? Long story short, I feel like Cuties could have been a great coming-of-age film that would have been a great discussion regarding coming into our own and making choices for ourselves, and not because of our parents or society. But yeah, this wasn't it. So now that I've discussed all this, I want to know what you think. What are your thoughts about Cuties? Are we truly ready for this discussion, or was the outcry misguided? Let me know your thoughts regarding everything discussed down below. But anyways, that's also it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below letting me know your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!